Hi, honey. Hi, honey. It's becoming a regular occurrence, huh? What, do you think this is your channel? Do you think that you are the star of the show? Also, I don't know if you can see, but she has pink bows in her hair. She got them at the groomer. And she looks so pretty. Okay, lay down, honey. Lay down. Relax. Lay down. Okay. Yet another appearance by Sadie. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new. My name is Kristen, and this is my booktube. In today's video, we are going to be talking about my March TBR. In February, I read a lot of romances. Very, very romance heavy. This month is going to swing very much in the opposite direction of last month, and we are going back to a very thriller heavy reading month, which I am quite excited about. Contrary to what it may appear in my February TBR and videos that I put out in the last few weeks, but I am a thriller girl. I love a thriller. I love a murder mystery. I love a puzzle. So this month we're diving back into the thriller genre. So without further ado, let's get into the books that I plan on reading in March. First off, we're going to start with a rollover for last month. So we're not quite done with the romances just yet because I have not finished Love on the Brain. I am very close to finishing. I have about 100 pages left, so this is probably going to be the first book that I finish in March. And after that, we're going to be done with the romances for a little bit. So this is the last one. For those that don't know, didn't watch my previous video, I'll give you a very brief synopsis. This book is about Bee, who is a neuroscientist who gets the opportunity to work on a NASA project surrounding neurostimulation for astronauts to help them focus better in space. She gets this job to co-lead this project, and as fate would have it, her co-leader is this guy, Levi, who is her grad school nemesis, or so she thinks. So this book is essentially enemies to lovers. These two are working on a massive project together, and yeah, there's a lot of misunderstanding, misdirection about how Levi feels, about how Bee feels, about other people in the book that have been feeding false information to Bee. We'll say that for now. So I have about 100 pages left, and it's going quite well. So far, really enjoying it. Super cute, super fun, super nerdy. Love it. So that's probably going to be the first and last romance that I read this month. And then we're going to dive in to the thrillers. Thrillers are the kind of books where if you read too many of them too close together, it kind of gets a little boring. You start to notice all of the tropes, all of the different writing devices that people use and things like that. So it's good to take a break every once in a while. So that's what February was. February was my no thriller month and kind of gave me a bit of a reset. So I'm excited to dive into these thriller books this month. So without further ado, let's get into the rest of the books on my TBR. I wrote out a Google Doc for this. She's serious. So first on the list, we have Perfect Days. This is a book that was a pick for a book club I'm in at my office. I just joined the book club, and this is the first read that I'm joining them for. Book club is happening next week. I already finished the book, so I guess it's not technically on my TBR anymore, but I did read it in March, so we're including it in this TBR. So Perfect Days focuses on Teo, who is a medical student in Rio de Janeiro. And Teo has, right off the bat, a very interesting friend in Gertrude. She's a corpse. Yeah, yeah, no, exactly what you're thinking. Right off the bat, we have a bit of necrophilia, and we know that Teo is a bit mentally disturbed. So really sets us up right from the get-go for an interesting ride. I'm not going to give a full review, I'll save that for my wrap-up video, but the general gist of the story is he ends up going to this barbecue with his mother, who was severely injured in a car crash and has lost the ability to walk and is now in a wheelchair. So he is her primary caregiver. And on the outside, Teo seems like a decent person. You know, he's young, he is supposedly handsome. At least he thinks he's handsome. He is a medical student, he takes care of his mother, and is a very quiet, kind of reserved person. However, we as the audience are not fooled by this exterior because the whole story is told from his point of view. So we get every little creepy thought that comes across Teo's mind, including when he starts stalking a girl that he meets at the barbecue named Clarice. He becomes obsessed with Clarice. He has it in his mind that if she could just get to know him, she would fall in love with him and be just as in love with him as he is with her. And as you would expect, this turns into a kidnapping. So he ends up kidnapping Clarice and taking her on this horrifying road trip to make her fall in love with him. And there is quite a bit that happens along the way. Essentially all of the classic crimes that you would expect from a book like this happen. Kidnapping, murder, you know, disposing of bodies, evading the police, all of that kind of stuff. That's all of the synopsis I'm gonna give for now. Looking forward to the book club on that book, so I can talk more about it. Get my thoughts out there before recording my wrap-up video. Next up on the list, we have Pretty Girls. So Pretty Girls is a book that I have seen floating around the internet, bookshops, all of that stuff. I've seen it several times, and I have several friends that have started reading it, finished it, told me that I should read it. So got the ebook and I'm giving it a go. The story centers around Claire and Lydia, who 20 years ago had their family essentially completely torn apart when their other sister was kidnapped and never found. Since the breakdown of their family, the two sisters have not spoken to each other or really had any contact. So we flash forward 20 years. Claire is now essentially a trophy wife, and Lydia is a single mom who is barely making ends meet. And the two are brought back together again when Claire's husband dies in a stabbing in an Atlanta alley. This is one that a lot of my friends have told me that I need to read, so I'm looking forward to getting into that and seeing what all the fuss is about, because I've heard that there are a lot of twists and turns in this book, and that even up to the last bit, there's still a lot of things that happen. Next, we have On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, which is another pick for the month of March for a different book club that I'm part of. I'm part of 2 different book clubs, so, well, no, I'm actually part of 3 different book clubs, but one of them only meets like every other month. On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous is a coming-of-age story about a Vietnamese-American writer whose family was torn apart by the events of the Vietnam War. The story is told through a series of letters from the son to his illiterate and abusive mother. I've heard that this book is very sad and it's beautifully written, so I'm really looking forward to reading that, and once again, meeting with my book club and talking about it. Next up, we have Sign Here, which is a book that I do own, but it's like buried on my bookshelf, so I'm not gonna grab it. I'll just put a picture up here. So Sign Here centers around the main character, who I believe his name is Piote. Could be pronounced differently, but you know, just from reading it, I'm gonna say Piote. Also goes by Pay. I don't know. The story centers around Piote Tripp, who works in hell. Literally, he works in hell. 5th floor in the deals department. It's a place where, you know, coffee machine hasn't worked for centuries. Pens don't work. The only drink is Jägermeister. You get the vibe. It's literal hell. It's an office in hell that's somehow even more hellish. Just, you know, layers. It's got layers. Our main character, he has a plan. He has a plan to escape his circumstances, I guess you could say. This plan includes getting the last member of the Harrison family to sell their soul. In this quest, Pei learns that there is in fact a hell on earth as he goes after this final soul and unearths all of the secrets and the darkness that this seemingly ideal family is hiding. I, once again, have another friend that read this book, and I'm looking forward to reading it myself. I got it through Book of the Month a couple months ago, so about time that I read it. You know, still trying to make progress on books that I physically own. So that's going to be one of the ones that I'm going to try to physically read this month and add it to the list of ones that I have bought and actually read. Next, we have All the Missing Girls. This is actually one that I started listening to on the way home from work today. And this one centers around Nicolette, whose best friend disappeared when they were 18 years old and was never found. Now, 10 years later, she has moved away, gone to college, gotten engaged, all of that stuff, and has seemingly put the past behind her. Then she gets a call from her brother that he and her ailing father need her help. She returns to her small hometown to help with her dad clean out her dad's house and try to sell it with her brother. While she is there, another girl goes missing who is only a few years younger than Nicolette. This disappearance, along with her being back in her hometown, brings up a lot of memories about her own best friend disappearing 10 years before. It becomes clear to Nick that there is a connection between this 10-year-old disappearance and the newest one that has occurred. So she makes it her mission to find out what is happening to these girls that are going missing in this small Smoky Mountain town. This story is told in reverse order, taking place in the 2 weeks after Nicolette returns to her hometown and the second girl has gone missing. So it's a bit of a back and forth with the timelines, because there's also some flashbacks to when her best friend disappeared and things like that. So it's a little bit of a mixed timeline situation. So far, very interesting. I'm only like 2 chapters in, but it's got my attention. Next we have Never Have I Ever. Never Have I Ever centers around Amy, who has the perfectly ordinary life. It's very suburbia, very white picket fence. Has the perfect professor husband, you know, 15-year-old stepdaughter, as well as a small baby. And she has a book club with some of the local people in her neighborhood. And one night at their book club meeting, a new person shows up whose name is Angelica Rue. And while she is charming all of the people in their neighborhood, you know, the wine's flowing, she is making conversation, getting those small little details out of people. Everyone thinks that it's all an innocent fun, but Amy knows better, and she sees through Rue's clever charade, if you will. She sees through Rue and knows that something is off with her. Amy starts to worry that this sultry and beautiful young woman who drives this sports car and can seemingly get everyone to spill their secrets to her has a more sinister motive than everyone is thinking. And Amy is worried that she'll keep digging and find that Amy's not as innocent as she may seem. Amy is afraid that Rue knows who she really is and what she's done in her past that she has tried so desperately to cover up in recent years. In order to protect her family and the comforts of her life as it is, Amy has to partake in Rue's sinister little game and beat the she-devil at her own game. That's a quote from Goodreads that calls her the she-devil. This one sounds really interesting. Sounds like pretty much all my favorite things. You know, we have a character that's seemingly normal on the surface and has some stuff in their past that they would rather not come up. Then enter the new mysterious person who knows about Amy's past somehow. So, very interested in that one and looking forward to reading it. And last, certainly not least, we have What Lies Between Us. What Lies Between Us centers around Maggie and Nina, who share a house together. Every other night, they have dinner together, and once they're done with dinner, Nina helps Maggie back to her room. In the attic. Yeah. Yeah. She helps her back into the attic and puts her back in the chains that keep her stuck in the attic. Maggie has done things to Nina that can never be forgiven and have supposedly earned her that place in the attic and in chains. But Nina does not know everything about Maggie, and Maggie would rather die than let her know the truth about her. Because, and this is a direct quote from the summary on Goodreads, in this house, the truth is more dangerous than lies. Somehow the synopsis tells me pretty much nothing about the book and leaves me with far more questions than I had just from the title. So, very interested to read this one as well and find out what the heck Maggie did to Nina to make her chain her up in her attic. Like, I've had some friends do some not great things to me in the past. Never once even thought about chaining them up in my attic. So, I'm curious to see what exactly Maggie did to make Nina think that that's a rational solution. So that's the end of my March TBR. So we have 8 books in total this month. Will I get through all of them? Maybe. Who's to say? But I'm gonna try. So these are the 8 books I'm gonna set out to read this month and hopefully come back with some good thriller recommendations for you. So that is all for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did like it, go ahead and leave me a like down below. Subscribe while you're down there so you can be notified when I upload a new video. I upload every Saturday around noon, sometimes a little later if my computer's giving me troubles, but you know, midday on Saturdays, you'll be able to see this lovely face giving you more book opinions. That's all I got for you guys this week. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and until next time, I hope you guys have a wonderful day wherever you are, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!